All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen out there in YouTube land. I am Delete Stevens, human being, American YouTuber Ronin. This is my review for Chris Nash's horror film, In a Violent Nature. Currently in theaters. And soon to be released on streaming through Shudder and IFC. Already in the chat, Loyal Blue Wrench, the bird woman of YouTube. Check out her second channel, Fluff Chick Productions, Connie Cleary. To remind everyone to hit the like, share out the stream. And if you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. All right. Well, let's get right down to it. Yesterday evening, I went to my local Regal Cinema, where I normally go, and I saw In a Violent Nature, written and directed by Chris Nash, produced in part by Shudder, and this is a take on an old school slasher film. Very much in the vein of like a Friday the 13th, Burning, films like that. You have a zombified, I guess you could say, killer by the name of Johnny. This story is a locket that was given to him from his mother by his father, is taken from the place in which he is buried, and because of this, he arises from his grave and goes on a rampage to basically get this locket back. And as they say, there will be blood. Now the backstory, and I'm not giving too much away here by saying this, because you find this out in the very opening minutes of the movie. That it's a logging town. His father ran a logging company. Johnny is this kid. He's kind of, as they say in the film, he's slow. That's how they put it. And he does something that indirectly injures a logger. So they decide that they're going to play a prank on the kid. They lead him up to the top of a fire tower with the intent to scare him. He falls, dies. His father, distraught, confronts these men. They kill him and cover the whole thing up. And sometime thereafter, someone comes to the camp and kills all of the loggers. And that too is covered up by the folks in the town saying that this was an animal attack. But the sole survivor claims to, have seen a person wearing one of those old style fire masks was actually responsible for the deaths. There is another attack later on. And, we're kind of off and running. Now, much has been said about the pacing. We follow what sets this film apart is that we follow the killer. We follow Johnny. It kind of think Friday the 13th, a Friday the 13th type film where we follow Jason and we kind of, well, what is he up to during the downtime, between kills? And, we find out in this film. Now, there are people who will say that all of the walking scenes are not necessary. And to be honest with you, I think there's one that they could have cut out or cut way down. But other than that, it didn't bother me because you kind of get an idea behind why Johnny is the way he is. You see what his thought process is. You kind of get insights into him. And, you don't find out much about Jason. You don't find out much about Michael Myers. Past what you're told in the first films. Here you kind of get an idea of who he was, which I thought was fascinating. It's a different take on it. You also get the idea of, the people that he stalks throughout the film. Most of whom are these group of kind of teenagers, kind of college age kids, you get, you have the ranger who's the Johnny hunter, so to speak, who knows the backstory and knows what to, how they can possibly stop him. You get, you get the poacher who's allowing various animals to get caught in traps. And that plays into things. And then of course you have the core group of teenagers. You get the final girl, you get the asshole boyfriend, you get the guy who's sweet on her, but he's a bit of a screw up, and he's interested, but he can't get the words out. You get, you get the stoner guy you get all of the archetypes that you see in these movies. So it's like, right, there are people who will complain that the characterizations are not that good. I say you find out what you need to know over the course of the movie. You know what you need to know about them. You are told just enough backstory that you can kind of fill in the blanks yourself. And this movie is a very slow burn. It's a slow burn. It's 94 minutes, including credits. Now, when it comes to the pacing, like I said, aside from one little bit that I thought could have been cut down, the pacing's actually pretty decent. In my opinion, it was pretty decent. But there comes a point in the movie, and I'm debating whether or not I really want to go into this, and it'll be up to the chat if you want me to go into spoilers or not. But this movie has just come out, and I want everyone to see it. I'm going to say that straight up. I do want people to go out, see this movie, and decide for yourself, because it is getting mixed reviews. So this is a polarizing movie. There are people who really love it, and then there are the people who just vehemently hate it. And each have merit. I can understand the people who don't like it. But I think they're kind of missing the point, and I'll get to that. Now, there was a point in the movie where the movie seems like it's coming to a conclusion. And then I checked my phone. I checked the time, and you're like, wait a minute, there's like 20 minutes left in this movie. Because the third act of this film is not what you think it's going to be. The third act of this movie takes a turn. And that's what really brought it home for me. The ending of this movie is trying to say something very profound about violence, about violence that takes place in nature, animal against animal, human being against animal, human being against human being. And it doesn't do it in a pretentious way. It does it in a very interesting way. And I'm dancing around it because I know in the thumbnail that there was that there could be possible spoilers. And I'm not going to go into spoilers unless those of you in the chat want me to do it. Now, about the kills in this movie, which I know a lot of the horror movie fans are really looking for. The kills in this movie are something else. There were some audible gasps. There was some laughter. And that's how I knew I was watching this movie with horror movie fans. They laughed in the right places. They audibly reacted in the right places. So, for those of you who are horror movie fans, you are not going to be disappointed by this movie. All of the gore is there. The kills are original. The quote unquote yoga kill that you've probably heard about by now. I have not seen anything like it in film. I have never seen anything like that. And I've been around a good long while here, folks. I have seen a lot of death in movies. This is the top 3 to 5 most memorable. It is really twisted. I think I know how they did it. I'm not really sure, but man, it works. All of the kills in this movie work. They're all effective. There's one that goes on a little long, but I understand why it goes on long. I will admit, there was one kill where I was like, why? Why are you doing this way specifically? What is going on in your head, son? If why didn't you just do that to begin with if you were going to do that? So there's that. There's a kill that happens off screen, sort of. The camera is on where the kill is happening. It's just the way that scene is shot. You can't see the kill happening, but you know that it is. And I know where they got the idea for that scene from, which is why I thought it was effective. To consider Johnny to be like a shark when he's stalking his prey. That would be it. So you have this admittedly slow burn horror movie that follows the killer for the most part. There are scenes where they don't follow him. And I think that's what might upset some people, because there is a sequence where you don't follow Johnny, where you don't know where he is. But that sequence is made all the more effective because you're looking for him. You're looking for him behind every tree. You're waiting for him to pop out from any direction. Because it is once Johnny is on the scene, the woods are a 360-degree battlefield, if that makes any sense to you. And it's effective. It really is. And it really ramps up the tension in that sequence of the film. Now, there was a horror movie earlier in the year. I haven't reviewed it yet, except in passing. The movie Immaculate. And hello to Matt Cheatwood. Now, when I went into Immaculate, I was told by people who review film, people I trust, people I know, who said that the ending of that movie was either going to make or break the film for you. And when I get to my full review of that film, I will explain whether or not that took place, if the ending of Immaculate made the movie for me or broke the movie for me. I am going to warn you now, and this is where I could be going possibly into spoilers. So, the ending of this movie will make or break the movie for you. There is a point where the movie could logically end. And you think it's going to. I thought it was going to. I thought we were leading up to the conclusion. But it keeps going. And there is a long scene in the third act that I really want to talk to people about. But at the same time, I want people to see this movie. I'm recommending this movie. I am very, very highly recommending it. It is in my opinion, one of the best movies of the year so far. And it's the ending that brought me there. Because of what the final scene is trying to say. That elevates it above being just being a slasher flick. And like I said, don't get me wrong, the slasher film angle of this movie works. It does. Horror movie fans are going to love those scenes. They're going to love the kills. They're going to love the gore. They're going to love this character of this killer. And hello to Brett Cohen. But at the same time, I understand that people will have issues with the ending. Now, while, like I said, the ending works for me, this is a movie that has something to say. It is a horror film. The gore is there. The kills are there. The tropes are there. But at the same time, the movie's trying to say something. There's a point to all of it. And that's what pushed it over the top for me. Because before you get to the third act, like I said, you think you're already into third act at a certain point in the film. You're like, okay, from this point to the end of the movie is going to be the final confrontation. And if the movie had just ended there, but maybe with one last jump scare attached or something. And that's one thing that this movie is good at. This movie is not a jump scare movie. This isn't a Blumhouse film. Okay? There's no bullshit jump scares. There's not a musical score trying to tell you how you're supposed to feel. In fact, I don't think there's a musical score in this movie at all, really. Except in one scene where you hear music from a kid's Walkman, but that's it. And then, like I said, there's a point where the movie could logically end, and I would have said, okay, it's good, but it's an average slasher. I've been here, I've seen this. And then this final sequence happens. And I went, wow, I've really been missing the point of the movie, and it's been in front of me the entire time. Oh, this is going there. That's fascinating. I like that. And Chris Nash, the writer-director of this film, I want to see what he does next. And I want to see him branch out from doing movies that are not horror. Because I think he can do other things. I think he is someone who is capable of working in different genres. I am going to be keeping an eye out for this guy. I'm very curious now to see what he does next. Now, there is one thing that did throw me. Now, like I said, I brought up the fact that you hear music in the few very rare times that you do hear music in this film. You know, the sounds of the woods are the true soundtrack of the film. But you know, you have a character who listens to a Walkman. There's a scene where you see a payphone, and you don't see very many of them these days. And maybe when you're that far out in the sticks, maybe there are still payphones for emergencies. I don't know. So that kind of led me to believe, hey, maybe this movie is taking place in the 80s. You know, like I said, there's the evidence is there. You have Walkman. You have the payphones. You know, you have the character that's kind of obsessed with yoga. You know, which very much put me in mind of kind of the early to mid 80s. However, there are jokes in this movie about cancel culture. And this movie makes fun of cancel culture. They don't go too deeply into it. It's one scene. There are a few jokes told. You know, and there's the characters like, "What are you going to do? Cancel me?" Stuff like that. There's nothing political in this film. I want to say that up front. There's no agenda. There's no cancel culture crap. This movie makes fun of it in one very brief scene, and then they don't bring it up again. This is not a political film in any way. So you don't have to worry about that. But the fact that this one little brief snatch of present day conversation comes up, it does take away from that early 80s vibe that the rest of the movie has. But I like the idea that it's kind of a movie that is slightly out of time, that it's kind of a little off kilter in that way. That's probably my one real it's kind of the one little con. And hello to Curtis Shelby. I'm reviewing in a violent nature. If you want, you can go back and rewind or watch the rest of it later on. I do want to thank everybody who is in the chat and everybody who is following along on Twitter. I can't see you, but I know that you're there. Say hello in the comments. Yeah. And hello to FKHC 2005. Tim has joined us. All right. But yeah, I do have a couple of very minor quibbles with the film. But on the whole, it works. And I'm recommending it. The kills work. You find out what you need to know about the characters to get through the movie. The backstory of the killer is very good. The mythology that they build up around the character. It is very well done and very well thought out and makes sense within the context of the movie. Now, the year kind of got off to a rough start when it came to horror, but it's really come around. With Late Night with the Devil, with this film, with the movie New Life, which I also need to get a review up for. Something where I would like to take maybe a deeper dive into it. Big Al Presents just reviewed that film. His video is out right now. There have been some stumbles, but this is a good year for horror. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes up between now and the end of the year. Yes. As of right now, Curtis, Late Night with the Devil is my number one movie of the year. And In a Violent Nature is very, very high up on my list. I understand that this movie is not going to be for everybody. I understand why it's not going to be for everybody. I understand that people are going to have issues with the ending. But it's the ending that sold this movie for me. Because you realize that there is this other layer. It's like Shrek. Onions have layers. Well, this movie's got layers. And that last layer sold it, and it got me. And I stopped and went, whoa, that's really very good. And I don't want to say what it reminds me of, because even though I said, like I said in the title of this video, that there could be possible spoilers, but I don't want to give it away. Because I want people to go out and see this. I am highly recommending In a Violent Nature. I think it's going to be a cult classic. I may very well go back to the theaters and see this movie again. I am definitely going to watch it once it hits Shudder later this year. And if there and when this movie comes to physical media, I am going to, it's going to be a day one buy. So this is a recommend. Very interesting take on the horror genre. All right. I want to remind everyone, later on tonight, our friend Big Al Presents, who, like I said, has a review for the movie New Life out right now. We'll be hosting Films with Friends at 10 p.m. And tonight's movie will be Midnight Madness from 1979, the first film of Michael J. Fox. Later on tonight will be Jedi Bill, After Hours Karaoke. And tomorrow, of course, is the big day. Troy Pacelli, Netters Network, will be joining Bill and I for Western Cinema Presents, and we are going to be finishing the Back to the Future trilogy with the Western sci-fi conclusion to that series. That will be at 4 p.m. Eastern. Later on that night will be Unscripted over on my channel, right here on my channel, 8 p.m. I will be in the chat for Geeky Geezers over on Aged Boomer's channel at 9 p.m. And once that is over, get yourself a nice midnight snack and a beverage. And catch me at 12:05 a.m. for The Other Side of Midnight. And some of you in the chat might be getting the link. So if you can join me, please do. All right, I am going to round this video out. I am recommending In a Violent Nature. Please support this film. I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight on Twitter. All those lurking in the background. Because there's always one or two, which is quite all right. You do not have to engage with the chat. Just as long as you like the stream, share it out. And if you like what you see and would like to see more, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. I want to thank everyone who joined me in the chat. Connie Cleary, Matt Cheatwood, Rhett Cohen, retired midnight blogger himself, Curtis Selby, FKC 2005, sometimes known as Tim, Connie, and thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Matt, for being here. And thank you, Brett Cohen. for the $3 super sticker. And greetings to you. I think this is the first time I remember seeing you in my chats. I have just finished reviewing In a Violent Nature. If you would like to listen to the rest of the show that you might have missed, simply hit the rewind or click on the play arrow, and I hope that you enjoy the video. From HQ and all points, north, south, east, west, and beyond. Good night. Take care. Stay strong. Don't steal lockets. We're out in the woods, folks. Bad things will happen. Because this is how we win.